Hello everyone, Insane Frame here, welcome to another video. In our last video we tried tackling aliens in XCOM 2 and that didn't go so well, so today I thought let's go and have some fun by using a very over the top weapon. So today in Fallout 4 we ask, can you beat Fallout 4 with the Broadsider? For those of you who haven't heard of this weapon is a cannon from a ship and it does excellent damage and has some interesting weapon properties. It acts kind of like a hybrid grenade launcher, if I could compare it to anything from the game. However, also does scale with Demolition Expert, a perk that improves explosive weapon damage. We also have Heavy Gunner that we can spec into, so the damage we can do with this is going to be absolutely ridiculous. But the downside is cannonballs are an uncommon ammo type and we'll be spending most of our caps and time for that matter tracking them down from merchants. Patience will definitely be a virtue here. Lucky for you wonderful audience, we can just use the power of editing to make it so you won't be missing the action. Anyway, let's quickly head on to the rules. We may only use the broadside in battle, no glitches or exploits, no cheating or modding, and we're going to be playing on very hard difficulty. Anyway, with all that out the way, let us begin. We start on up the game and we decide to give ourselves a sort of buccaneer look, and Voltec decide to call and we name ourselves a Blackbeard from a very popular manga series and anime. Comment down below if you know the name. Anyway, for our stats we decide to go for 6 strength, 4 perception, 5 endurance, 7 intelligence and 4 luck. Quite a good all-round build that can spec into heavy guns and add some carry weight if need be. Anyway, we see our sack of potatoes, which is our human sun, and then the world blows up as it's a Fallout game. However, we get frozen and after we thaw out we lock out the creepy crawlies and get a Pip-Boy, then exit the vault. Now, first point of call is getting to Bunker Hill, which will be child's play as we can go near Concord and Trudy fights Wolfgang for us, giving us a free level up, allowing us to get arguably the most important perk this run, which is Aqua Boy. This allows us to swim without taking radiation damage and breathe underwater, a very underrated perk, especially early on. So now we have this, we can start swimming and we swim all the way to this location here on the map. Once we get near the island and see Fort Strong, we go ahead and begin pinching the cannonballs. These are the ammo type we'll be using, so it's very important we have a couple to start with. After our general looting, we find a total of 9 cannonballs, not bad for some free ammo. We then need to start swimming again, but this time we need to go to the USS Constitution, which is a ship in the Fallout verse. Anyway, we start swimming and we see the ship come into view, and once we get on deck we see some awesome robots and find their captain, Captain Ironsides, quite a distinguished fellow with his hat. He decides that he wants our help repairing the ship, so we immediately hop to it and begin speaking to Bosun, who directs us, but thanks to our high intelligence we can just jerry-rig everything, which is always nice. Our next crew member we speak to is Mr. Navigator, and he tasks us with getting a guidance chip. So after a brief walk from the USS Constitution we go and speak to some scavengers and they're not willing to budge, so we do the next best thing, which is just simply swipe the guidance chip as they did to Captain Ironsides in the first place. However, we also ran for our dear lives as we can't attack, so we use the raft that drops down to get to the top of the ship to safety and just let the crew gun down the rabble. It's then off to Good Neighbor, and due to exploration XP we level up and we immediately go for +1 intelligence, and then we go back to Sanctuary Hills and use the special book to get another +1 intelligence. This allows us to go back to the USS Constitution and repair the radar dish with some more jerry-rigging, allowing us to complete the quest with no problem. However, Captain Ironsides decides that we need to get our feet wet, so he wants us to go get some turbo pump bearings, which are located in the Lexington plant, which is going to be very difficult, however not impossible. So we simply bolt through the front door and sneak around the power plant, trying to get as close to our objective as possible. However, we unfortunately get caught, but the silver lining is there's a protector on about, so we manage to use the console and make a distraction whilst we make a run for it. We then go and get the turbo pump. It does take a few attempts, however we eventually manage to get it by using all of our healing items on us to out-heal the damage coming our way. With all the healing items gone and the turbo pump gained, it's mission accomplished. We go ahead and install the device on the ship and go ahead and report to Captain Ironsides. The scavengers decide that they want to attack again, however it's almost useless as these robots are very good at repelling them, and we can just use the cannons to hurt them if they get too close. After that tomfoolery, we report back into Captain Ironsides, and he gives us the item that we really want, which is the Broadsider, a very powerful cannon that can really ruin someone's day, and it's now ours. However, that ammo is very precious, especially at this stage of the game, so we have to make every shot count. I decided to try my luck against the Triggermen, and it turned out to be quite an interesting scenario, as it's pretty much the first one who attacks wins. So we do manage to take out the first set of enemies that allow us to take some loot and get some experience. However, a little bit further in, there's just simply too many of the Triggermen for us to handle, so we need to come back here when we're better prepared. So we do our first hunt of the run for cannonballs from merchants, which involves waiting for 2 days and then going around and seeing if they have any in stock. Rinse and repeat until we have sufficient ammo. I also decided to get some cage armor to help with our survivability, so we go back for round 2. Round 2 goes much better as we also added a multi-shot upgrade to our cannon, making the long reload time less of an issue, allowing us to shoot up to 3 cannonballs in one reload. We just steamroll our way through the vault, and it's really not too much of a challenge at this point. However, an important thing to note is Dino manages to tank a whopping 6 blimmin' cannonballs. This guy's made of some serious stuff, so fair play to him. However, we spring Nick Valentine free, who's very grateful, and we also level up. We go ahead and get Heavy Gunner rank 1, increasing our damage by 20%, which scales very well for a weapon like this. We test our new damage out on Skinny Malone, and he lasts for about 5 seconds, which is absolutely hilarious, people, as he doesn't really do that well against us. We make a break for it with Nick, and when we're outside, Nick decides to invite us to his office in Diamond City. So we go ahead and take him up on his offer, so we pay a visit to Valentine's detective agency, as noted by the sign. So when we sit down with Nick, we talk about our case, and the dastardly Kellogg cornflakes is mentioned. So we decide to go to the mayor's secretary, and we get the keys from her drawer. It's actually amazing how many different ways you can get the keys to Kellogg's house, so I'd advise trying a couple of different ways. You might actually be surprised how easy it is. Anyway, when we have the keys in hand, we break into Kellogg's house and begin stealing everything in there, making sure to loot the place clean. We also push a button under the desk, and sure enough, he has a secret room with all his contraband in. Nick has an idea to use someone, and we agree to it, so when we get outside, we see the good boy Dogmeat, as he wishes to help us, and when we give him the cigar, it unlocks Fort Hagen for us. However, before we go any further, it's time to upgrade the Broadsider to its full potential. So we decide to get all the weapon mods on it, and there's only really 3 mods for it, but every little helps, so why not? However, it's back to getting more cannonballs as well, so we have to wait around and go to a lot of merchants until we're topped up again. But before we go to Fort Hagen, we decide to go to the Museum of Freedom. Our cannon just toasts the raider here, no problem, and allows us to be a terror to them. But when we get through, we see the Minutemen and decide to ignore Preston and get the Perception bobblehead, giving us +1 perception. And we also level up here as well, so we go ahead and get Demolition rank 1. So all explosive weapons gain 25% damage, which stacks with our Broadsider, making it a behemoth now. However, we're not quite done, as we also get Bloody Mess rank 1, gaining us +5% damage. So our weapon now has a +50% extra damage in total with all our perks, which is just amazing. With the Museum of Freedom cleared, we decide to go to Fort Hagen, and we begin shooting the turrets, no problem, which turns them to scrap metal. And when we're inside, we just bulldoze through Fort Hagen and flatten anything that comes in our way, making this weapon an absolute wrecking ball. We go through the fort and deal a lot of damage and make sure to raid the armory as well, getting some pretty nice loot. But we then face the dastardly Kellogg, and whilst this did take a couple of attempts, we just resort to taking out both his guards and then running away as fast as possible. We evade Kellogg, but then when we return, we just give Kellogg a good old thrashing, which just destroys him in 2 volleys, which is actually quite funny as he's meant to be stronger than Dino, but okay. We decide to take his armor, and where it is actually better than what we've got, and then we see the terminal and that our potato son has been kidnapped, which okay. Moving on, the Brotherhood of Steel show up, which is always good. We sell our loot from Fort Hagen, and it's another round of shopping for cannonballs, spending all of our caps. It's over to Diamond City, and we see Nick and Piper arguing, and we tell them that Kellogg Cornflakes is done, but Nick has an idea to use his cybernetic implants in the memory den, which is actually a pretty good idea, so we go meet him there. We also level up, and we decide to grab Bloody Mess rank 2, so our damage across the board is increased by a total of 10%, which is always a nice boost for us. Anyway, we meet up with Nick at the memory den, and Dr. Amari decides to load us into Nick's memory bank, so we go through the memories of Kellogg Cornflakes, and we see that he is speaking to an Institute Corsair. The name Brian Virgil is mentioned, a former Institute scientist, and we have to locate him. But he's out in the glowing sea, so we'll need to go out there and get him at some point. But we decide to go to the Museum Freedom again to go see the Minutemen. Preston explains things, but we decide to go to the roof and do some fighting. We use the Broadsider to rain death from above like a red devil, and the raiders can't really do anything against us, so it's all good. As for the Deathclaw, we already defeated Kellogg, so a Brotherhood of Steel section shows up and shows us how to kill a 14-foot lizard. Yeah, we best leave these guys alone. Preston and Co are inside, and he invites us to Sanctuary Hills as part of the Minutemen, so it's only fair we join them. Once we meet everyone in Sanctuary Hills, we do some renovations and put in place everything that we will need. Everybody is happy enough, but we also level up and go for Demolition rank 2, so we now do 50% more damage with our Broadsider from this perk alone. We now need settlements at this stage of the game, so we decide to go to the USAF satellite station, and we easily just one-shot everything in our way as they get cannonballs to the face. But once our little skirmish is done, we go ahead and get the locket and we turn it into Apathy Farm, gaining us our first settlement, which is most excellent. Our next settlement we wish to claim is Sunshine Tidings, as it's close by, and when we get there we see a couple of ghouls and we dispatch them. We also get a copy of Wasteland Survival Guide, which gives us extra meat from animal kills, a really powerful book. But when all the hostiles are defeated, we establish a basic outpost here to get a settlement. For our third settlement, we have an event happen at 10 Pines Bluffs, which is easy and definitely the most straightforward, as we just pay the ransom for a quick and easy settlement, which really helps us out. But it's still polite to build some beds and put some defences down, as we have to keep them safe for sure. We have a level up come our way as well, and we decide to go for Heavy Gunner rank 2, so we now do 40% extra damage, meaning we're now hitting like an absolute truck. Simply brilliant. It's time to do a little side quest, so we head on over to the water plant and we sprint on in. We avoid the super mutants outside, and then when we're in, we go ahead and start pulling levers to drain the pump room. Some Mirelurks show up, but they are one-shotted, giving us absolutely no trouble and also free experience. The last of the switches gets pulled and the pumps are drained, and when we go on over to Grey Garden, Supervisor White is impressed with us and joins in the fold as well, getting another settlement under our belt. For our next settlement is actually the easiest, as we have a few ghouls attack it. They just get absolutely demolished as our damage is so high, so an easy settlement, I guess. Why not? It's then time to get our last settlement on the list, so we just charge straight in within Hangman's Alley near Diamond City and we just blow them to smithereens, netting us a quick and easy settlement. We then plant some defences and crops along with a recruitment beacon, so all is good. We have all the baseline settlements we'll need for the Minutemen, and we also have a level up, so we go ahead and get Fortune Finder rank 2 so we can find even more caps in containers than the previous rank, helping our ammo troubles a little bit when it counts. It's time we go to the glowing sea and we get ambushed by rad scorpions, but they're really no trouble as we do excellent damage and they are no more. We also see a group of ghouls and we have a certain amount of splash damage with our weapon, and it works extremely well against them, so it's really fun to watch them fall like dominoes. As for the Deathclaw outside Virgil's cave, we shoot it a couple of times and it decides to run off. And then it turns out to be the easiest fight as we go ahead and finish the darn thing off, which was kind of surprising as I expected it to be more difficult, but with the amount of damage it disappeared like a regular raider. And when we kill the Deathclaw, we turn our attention to Virgil's cave, so we go inside his lab. We meet the man of the hour, Virgil. After some convincing, he comes around and says that we need to hijack the Institute teleporter, so we need to go and kill a unit called a Corsair, which we saw in Kellogg's memories. We do more cannonball shopping, and when we're ready, we go to Green Tech Genetics. The gunners are unsurprisingly destroyed left, right and centre without any worries, as they get served on a plateau like tea and biscuits, as we just snowplow through them. As for the Corsair, it's pretty much the same story as Kellogg Cornflakes, as he's taken down after 2 volleys from the Broadsider. With the Corsair down, we decide to loot him for the Corsair chip so we can focus on the main story. When we're outside, we level up, so we go ahead and get armor rank 2. We then purchase some metal armor and we use our perk to upgrade it to polished metal armor, bolstering our defenses, making us quite the tough customer armed with a Broadsider. It's then off to the North Church, and the ghouls here are no match for Blackbeard. However, we do see a dial and put the code, which is Railroad. We have a secret passage open up and we see the Railroad have been waiting for us. However, we're all friends here, so we ask if they can decode our Corsair chip, and Desdemona agrees as she's had her morning cup of tea. We then get straight to it and we have the right man for the job, which is Tinker Tom. He kindly gives us the code in exchange for the Corsair chip, which is fine as we only need the code after all. We fast travel back to Virgil and he finishes the teleporter blueprints and hands them over to us. We then speak to Preston. He wants us to go to Greentop Nursery. So it's time to march on over there. We decide to get it over and done with, so we end up killing the settlers as it's not really worth our time. However, Preston decides to promote us to General and we go on over to Sturgis to get the teleporter built. We begin building the teleporter, and when the teleporter is finished, we simply step on the platform as Trash Can Carla has a cigarette, which is a cool move, I guess. We stand on the platform and we're teleported into the Institute. We immediately use the network scanner in the lobby and then we get Father introduce himself over the intercom. However, as we descend and we walk around, it's clear what must happen as we confront the child simp and we don't buy its limited acting abilities. We then see Senior Potato all grown up, however he succumbed to the dark side and gone mad with power. So we decide to leave him be and go back to the surface, but when we ascend away from him and get teleported out, we have not one but 2 level ups. So we do a kind of boring level up and give ourselves +2 charisma. We speak with Preston, say that the Institute is now our enemy, and as always he wants us to go to his settlements. So just this once we do as he asks and cannonball their faces in. We set up a radio beacon and report on back. Preston now says we need to meet him at the castle, which is excellent. So we do the right thing and stock up on more cannonballs, which doesn't take as long as everyone is selling more cannonballs for some reason. When we get to the castle, we meet up with everyone and we decide to go in guns blazing. The Mirelurks get one-shotted by us and it's no sweat. Eventually we have the Mirelurk Queen, and this did take a couple of attempts, but we easily managed to take it down. The darn poison got us a couple of times, so it's fair enough I guess, as it's defeated now. But just as a reference, this is how hard our weapon hits. It's an absolute monster of a weapon and just so much fun to use. We get a level up and put a point into Lone Wanderer, so we take 15% less damage and increase our carry weight by 50, so not bad at all. Once that's done, we begin fortifying the castle and get the foundations laid out for the future. So with everything at the castle now covered, we decide to go ahead and meet Ronnie Shaw, a true Minutemen veteran. She's kind enough to show us to the armory, so we go into the tunnels and we find some cannonballs on the shelf, which is excellent. A sentry bot called Sarge is present, however we do pack a pretty big punch against him, so he's not too much trouble. Ronnie does take a little bit of a beating, but she's one tough old customer, so we press on and we come across the Minutemen General, and since we have Blackbeard, we decide to take his hat as it's perfect for us. The armory is open and we get the artillery blueprints. We decide to just build one as we can't really use it, and we test fire it to progress the quest, but it seems to work well and all is good, so job's a good one. With everything done, we gain a level and we decide to go for Lone Wanderer rank 2, so we take a flat 30% less damage. We can also carry 100 more weight, which is a brilliant perk for us. Anyway, we talk to Preston and he gets the word out to defend the castle, so we go back and Ronnie says that the Institute are attacking us. However, it goes absolutely perfectly for us as the Institute can't even dent our defences, and all our turrets just tear the Institute apart like Swiss cheese as they can't really do anything against us. Our defences do all the work for us, saving us many cannonballs. So when it's all over, Preston is ordered to prepare for a counter-attack against the Institute. Ronnie also does give quite a good speech to our men, so well done Ronnie. We talk to Sturgis and he says that he's found a way into the Institute, which is through a maintenance pipe, so it's all good. We also level up and we decide to go for toughness as +10 damage resistance is something. Whilst not powerful, it can definitely help a little bit. We swim through the Boston River and due to Aquaboy it's no problem, and we quickly locate the pipe. The sewers really isn't that difficult as anything that ends up in front of us is just roadkill due to our high damage, which is very refreshing in a challenge run. However, after we emerge from the maintenance pipe and into the main area, we use Sturgis' device and start teleporting everybody into the relay. Preston then hands us a pulse charge so we know what we must do. The attack begins and we gun down a couple of turrets and manage to beat a couple of the simps, no problem. However, rather than fight everything, we just jump over the edge of the railing and make a break for the hatch, saving our hides. We quickly get into bioscience and we end up going around and making a choke point for the enemy, really beating them down. The simps just can't take it and they eventually lose. Onto the main plaza next, and when we get into the thick of it, the Minutemen pull their weight and our cannon is just a lovely piece of kit as it's really tearing the enemy apart piece by piece, which if you can't tell by now, I'm just absolutely absolutely loving this cannon. It's so much fun to use. But when the lift pops down, we go ahead and see Senor Potato, and he gets what he deserves. We then use the override system and we play nice, issuing the evacuation order. It's time to go to advanced systems, and when we're there, we get to the reactor, place in the pulse charge, and we get teleported to the entrance. We ignore the child synth and get Sturgis to teleport us out, allowing us to press the detonator, ending the run, answering the question, can you beat Fallout 4 with a Broadsider? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can, and I would highly recommend doing so. Well, okay, that was certainly a fantastic run. Like, it's quite rare where I get to use a high damaging weapon on these runs, so being able to use the Broadsider, oh yeah, it felt good. It felt really, really good just picking up something that's an absolute monster. So it was really nice. Definitely picked me up from the XCOM 2 Reaper challenge, which was fun in itself, but pretty hardcore. Whereas this challenge, a little bit on the easier side, but I would definitely recommend giving it a try. Like, if you ever want to try a challenge, I would say this is probably the one to try. It's just so much fun. It's awesome. And yeah, definitely give it a go. Anyway, on to our next video. We're going to be doing, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with that gun? It's going to be an interesting one. I've not really used that gun all that often, but it definitely seems like a fun run to do. Anyway, like the video if you like the video, comment down below if you just want to say hi, and subscribe if you're new. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys look after yourselves, and I hope you're having a fantastic day and a really pleasant evening. This has been Insane Frame, and yeah, take care everybody. I'll see you all in the next one. This is Insane Frame, signing off. Have a good day everybody.